Savinemi. Mwari musiki wedu, apana takanaka chinuitwa no munu arioga asinemi. Rambai muri munavana benyuawa, kuti vatsungurire kuita javaka pikira no kuni Yesu Kristo tenzi wedu. Kristo ndimi mupi vorufaro, batsiraivo vateveri benyuava, kuti vaite mabasa avo no moyo yakasununguka, inerudo, varerutsevo mitoro yavamwe, no kuni Yesu Kristo tenzi wedu. Mweya mutsvene, itai kuti vapikiriava vadanane seama, kuti pase pazive kuti dozvinuitwa navakristo vanonzi vakristo, no kuni Yesu Kristo tenzi wedu. Mwari munamasimbose, Baba namanakomana namemuchene, kombravo vanavenyuava, vapikira na vabereki vavo, ne hamazavo, ne sutose tiripano.
Father George Bernard Webster was born in a place called Clapton Park in northeast London on January 26, 1934. He was attracted to the Redemptorists by the opportunity to choose between different kinds of work. For example, parish missions, retreat work, parish ministry, the writing ministry, and also special ministries both in Welsh and in Scottish Gaelic. He was accepted for the novitiate by the then provincial father Wilfrid Hughes. He says, "The novitiate in Perth, Scotland, was the happiest year of my life." He was professed on August 15, 1956. He was then ordained to priesthood on January 13, 1963. Soon after ordination, he was given the job of being editor of the Redemptorist magazine called Novena. It had a circulation of about 40,000. Out of the blue, he had a summons from the provincial to join the South African Vice Province as a parish missioners and arrived at Cape Town in January 1967. He spent 2 years giving missions and retreats in English all over South Africa, but spent about 3 months doing the same work in Zambia. Unfortunately, when he returned to our house in Heathfield, Cape Town from Zambia, he was interrogated by the South African police, who were suspicious of anti-government activities. He was refused permanent residence. The new South African provincial was Father Anthony Path. He was presented with a sudden crisis in our house in Harare in Zimbabwe when a priest serving there suddenly returned to the United Kingdom. Father Path decided to send Father Webster. Therefore, in January 1969, he found himself living in Harare. The rector in St. Gerard's was Father Philip Foster since 1969, who took over from Father Anthony Path when the latter became vice-provincial. These two men had began the Redemptorist presence in Zimbabwe. Soon after arriving, the Archbishop of Harare, a Jesuit called Archbishop Markal, asked the Redemptorists to look after 2 adjoining parishes of Tafara and Mabvuku. These were on the northeastern outskirts of Harare, just beyond a suburb called Greendale. There was already a church in Mabvuku dating back to 1947. There was also a fine parish structure with some excellent second and third generation Catholic family. The parish priest before the Redemptorists took over was a Jesuit called Father Raymond Capito. He also looked after the next-door township called Tafara, where houses were still being built. Since there was no church there, Mass was in the open air and then in a stable given to the Redemptorists by the superintendent, Mr. Gosden. At that time, Father Patrick Cosgrove was appointed as the parish priest of both Mabvuku and Tafara. Father George Webster replaced Father Cosgrove as the new parish priest. During his tenure, with the help of Father Bernard Herring, the church in Tafara was built in 1975. In 1976, money was found to construct a bulk of the present buildings in Tafara. That is, the 3 rondavels, the old chapel, the retreat house, outdoor kitchen, the main house which would later be extended. It was meant to be the novitiate, and the gardener's quarters, now Bethany. During Father Webster's tenure in St. Gerard's, his chief aim was to build a church in Hatcliffe, and this was achieved after years of hard work. He inspired many young people with his preaching, including a young Raymond Mupandasekwa, who would later join the Redemptorist and is now the Bishop of Masvingo Diocese in Zimbabwe. Father Webster returned to England in 2006. On his return, he was sent by Father McKensh for mission appeals in the United States. He returned to England in 2007 and is currently based at St. Mary's Clapham, England.
Good afternoon. One of the most precious gifts that we can have is a sense of justice. It is what really helps us to live in peace with other people. And this is because we respect their rights and are willing to deal fairly with them.
Bishop Mupandasekwa made a special visit to him in June 2022 at his base at St. Mary's Clapham. Father Webster sums it all in the following words: Africa is wonderful, and Zimbabwe even more wonderful.